everyone. This is BeinsureTalks, Insurance and InsurTech Insights.
Yeah, so glad to be here for this one.
Awesome to have you. So I want you to imagine, just for a second, trying to predict um, a massive global market crash.
Yeah.
And at the exact same time, a coordinated corporate cyber attack. And let's throw in a local catastrophic flood, too.
All at once.
All at exactly the same time. I mean, historically, you would need like 3 different massive institutions to even attempt that.
Oh, absolutely. You'd need a central bank, some huge cybersecurity firm, and, a global weather center.
Right. But today we are unpacking a stack of sources about how one single platform is attempting to do exactly that right from your browser.
It's pretty wild.
It really is. So we are diving into beinsure.com today, and we're exploring how a platform entirely dedicated to the notoriously complex, super jargon-heavy worlds of insurance and finance is somehow managing to make these subjects accessible, and not just accessible, but highly actionable for basically everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a massive undertaking. Just to give you some necessary context right at the top, we need to understand what Beinsure actually is today.
Yeah, lay it out for us.
So, it is a leading B2B digital media intelligence platform. But, their focus isn't just traditional auto or home insurance.
Right, they're doing way more than that.
Exactly. They are sitting right at this sort of chaotic intersection of insurance, reinsurance, InsurTech, cybersecurity, SaaS, and even blockchain technologies.
It's a really specific niche.
It is. It's this highly specialized nexus of financial and technological data.
And for anyone who, doesn't spend their weekends reading financial white papers, let's just anchor a couple of those terms real quick.
Good idea.
So InsurTech basically refers to the tech startups trying to drag the, 300-year-old legacy insurance industry?
Yeah, so about that.
Dragging them kicking and screaming into the digital age.
Yeah.
And reinsurance is essentially insurance for the insurance companies themselves.
Right. It's how the massive legacy players offload their own catastrophic risks so they don't go bankrupt from one hurricane.
Exactly. But here's why this deeply matters to you listening right now. Because whether you are an industry veteran desperately looking for, reliable M&A mergers and acquisitions investment data.
Which is incredibly hard to find reliable data for, by the way.
Oh, totally. Or on the flip side, maybe you're just someone who feels completely overwhelmed trying to figure out if a crypto platform is actually safe for your life savings.
We've all been there.
Right. So this deep dive reveals how the entire landscape of financial information is fundamentally changing to serve both of those needs.
And honestly, the word changing almost understates it. Because if you look at the timeline in our sources, Beinsure has actually been serving a global audience since 2006.
Wow, so they've been around the block.
Oh, yeah. But the story really gets interesting with this massive structural pivot they did. In 2022, Beinsure completely relaunched. They transformed from what was a fairly traditional online media outlet into a fully fledged B2B insurance analytics media platform.
And looking at that 2022 pivot, they didn't just tweak their logo, right? Or add a new daily newsletter.
No. They essentially tore the whole house down to the studs.
Which is crazy to do.
It is. They executed a highly successful ground-up launch of a digital financial media entity. And they pushed this directly into the US and UK markets.
Which, just to point out, are arguably the 2 most competitive, cutthroat financial markets on the planet.
Without a doubt.
So my guess here, just looking at the limitations of standard journalism, is that the traditional ad-supported media model just couldn't keep up with the speed of financial tech.
That's a huge part of it.
Like the traditional newsroom approach tells you what happened yesterday. But in a landscape dominated by rapid tech advancements, knowing what happened yesterday is virtually useless.
Exactly. I mean, you've hit on the fundamental shift in what the audience actually demands today.
All right.
If you are an investor or a risk manager, the traditional news cycle is it's far too slow and entirely too superficial.
Because it just skims the surface.
Right. If a standard financial paper says a major flood happened, well, that's news. But Beinsure's audience needed actionable intelligence.
They need to know what to do about it.
Exactly. They needed a platform that says, a flood happened, and here is the localized risk model affecting these 3 specific reinsurers over the next quarter.
Oh, wow. So it's hyper-specific.
Very. They needed an analytics engine that could actually model risk or trigger immediate financial decisions.
The analogy I keep coming back to is that it feels like they upgraded from printing a daily newspaper to building a sophisticated, real-time financial radar system.
I like that. That's a great way to put it.
Like, a newspaper tells you it rained, the radar tells you a hurricane is forming, and exactly which houses it's going to destroy.
Yeah, exactly.
But building a radar system requires a completely different architecture than a printing press. And that shift fundamentally changes who actually reads the platform.
It does.
But looking at the sources, there's a surprisingly personal detail behind all of this that seems to almost contradict that high-level corporate radar system idea.
Oh, you're talking about the founder's initial motivation.
Right, because the founder's motivation for stepping into this space wasn't just some cold, calculated, algorithmic business move.
No, not at all.
The founder repeatedly saw friends struggling to find the right information and the right coverage, just regular people hitting a massive wall of confusing terminology when dealing with their own lives.
Which is an incredibly common experience.
So common. So a core part of the platform is specifically designed to be useful for anyone who is in doubt about choosing an insurance company, picking a bank, or even navigating a personal crypto investment.
Yeah.
And that is a deeply B2C business-to-consumer origin story.
It is a very human origin story. But, you have to contrast that empathetic foundation with what Beinsure is simultaneously offering the heavyweights on the B2B side.
Right, the business-to-business side.
Exactly. Yeah. This is where that radar system you mentioned really roars to life. We are talking about global reinsurers and massive institutional investors using this platform to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay.
They are relying on Beinsure for tracking global M&A activity, monitoring highly complex regulatory changes across different legal jurisdictions, mind you.
Which sounds like a headache.
Oh, a massive one. They're also analyzing top global rankings and identifying niche investment opportunities in emerging tech way before they become mainstream.
Okay, I have to step in and push back on this a little
Go
bit.
for it.
Because structurally, that sounds like a UI and UX nightmare.
It sounds impossible, yeah.
Right. Like, how can one single platform successfully serve a massive institutional investor who is running complex risk models on global reinsurance groups? And a 25-year-old regular person who is just trying to understand their personal crypto wallet risk?
It's a huge gap.
In theory, sure, data is data. But practically handing an institutional risk model to someone looking for basic crypto insurance sounds overwhelming. How do they not alienate one side or the other? Isn't that a recipe for incredibly confusing content where half your audience is just totally lost?
That is the exact tightrope they have to walk. And it's arguably the hardest problem to solve in modern digital media.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
But the sources reveal how they resolve this tension through a very specific core philosophy. Beinsure basically operates on the belief that information is the foundation of transformation.
Okay, I like that phrase.
Right. So they solve the user experience problem not by dumbing down the data, but by applying rigorous journalistic standards to structure it properly. They strip away the unnecessary jargon so the mechanism is clear.
So wait, the core data is identical, but the presentation adapts.
Exactly. Think about it like this. An accurate, transparent assessment of an AI cybersecurity firm's vulnerabilities is just as valuable to a billion-dollar reinsurer looking for an acquisition.
As it is to a small business owner trying to understand their digital risk.
Bingo. The truth scales. The business owner might read the top-level analysis and, the three-bullet summary of the platform's reliability.
Right.
While the institutional investor dives into the raw predicted indices and regulatory compliance charts housed deeper in the exact same report.
I see. So it's like an ocean. The beginner can swim on the surface and clearly see what's going on without drowning.
Great analogy.
While the institutional investor can put on scuba gear and dive all the way to the trench.
Precisely. And clearly this dual-layer approach is working. I mean, the stats in these sources are staggering. They're delivering this customized, deep-level insight to over 2.2 million annual readers.
2.2 million, that's massive.
And that number is critical because serving 2.2 million people with highly personalized risk assessments and financial insights is mathematically impossible for a traditional newsroom.
Yeah, you can't just throw more journalists at that problem.
You'd need thousands of them. To process that volume of inquiries and data, you have to fundamentally change the architecture of how you process information.
Right, which means we have to look under the hood at the actual technological engine powering this whole operation. Because you definitely don't hit 2.2 million readers in complex finance with just a team of writers holding notepads and voice recorders.
Not a chance. This isn't just a media company writing about technology. They are deeply embedded in it.
How so?
Beinsure heavily leverages advanced technology, specifically artificial intelligence and big data, directly in their insurance data analysis and market research.
Okay.
They aren't just reporting on the existence of machine learning. They're actually using it to process massive data sets and
Oh.
specifically to improve the customer experience and how users interact with their insights.
Let's break down exactly how that AI is functioning, because it's super easy to just throw the word AI around right now.
Very true.
If a regular consumer is looking at a famously complex, like 100-page insurance policy, the AI is likely using natural language processing to read that document, strip out all the awful legalese, and instantly summarize the 3 actual risks the consumer faces.
Exactly. That's the B2C side.
Right. Meanwhile, on the back end, you see this tech in the kind of future trends they are analyzing for the big players. They do these incredibly deep dives into fields that are notoriously opaque.
They really do.
They act as a guide for AI-driven cyber risks, blockchain unicorns, and machine learning advancements.
And to understand why AI is mandatory for those deep dives, you just have to look at the sheer volume of unstructured data in those sectors.
It's got to be terabytes upon terabytes.
Oh, easily. Let's take cybersecurity, for example.
Yeah.
If you want to analyze global trends in corporate ransomware, you are dealing with millions of localized reports, server logs, SaaS vulnerability patches.
Hacker form activities across the globe.
Right. You can't have a human analyst read through all of that to find a market opportunity. It's literally like trying to find a specific drop of water in the ocean.
Impossible.
But Beinsure's tech utilization acts like a dye that turns only the relevant data bright red. Their AI parses that unstructured ocean of data to instantly spot patterns.
It reminds me of, like, a restaurant critic who is also a Michelin star master chef.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Right, like they can so accurately review and analyze InsurTech and cyber trends because they are literally utilizing that very same technology in their own analytic services.
Exactly.
They know how the algorithmic sausage is made because they built the machine making it. So when they say, hey, here is a flood insurance gap forming in the European market, they aren't quoting someone else's study.
No, not at all.
Their own AI spotted the gap by correlating weather data with regional building codes and current policy limits.
Precisely. And that rare combination, the empathetic consumer guidance born from wanting to help friends, fused with this high-tech predictive AI analytics engine. It completely redefines their market impact.
It really does.
It proves you don't have to be a massive legacy bank to generate institutional-grade insights. And that realization is exactly what has caught the attention of major investors and industry gatekeepers alike.
Okay, let's talk about the business reality of that impact, because the numbers here are, frankly, ridiculous for a media company.
They are.
We already mentioned the 2.2 million plus annual readers, but beyond just raw traffic, they are officially ranked as the #1 global InsurTech media platform by audience.
#1 in the world.
And they are ranked #3 for global insurance media overall. On top of that, they are an official AM Best media partner.
Which is huge validation.
Huge. And their reviews, forecasts, and proprietary data are constantly cited by authoritative media worldwide. They aren't just reporting on the industry anymore. They have essentially become the infrastructure of it.
And that level of market dominance translates directly into a very unusual investment profile.
Let's dig into that.
So looking at the Crunchbase data provided in our sources, Beinsure has raised a total of $1 million in funding.
Okay, 1 million.
Right. That is broken down into a relatively small $200,000 pre-seed round, followed by an $800,000 seed round raised between 2022 and 2026.
Okay.
But here is the critical data point that should make anyone interested in business pause.
Yeah.
Based on just that $1 million in funding, the platform achieved a valuation of $11 million.
Wait, an $11 million valuation off of just $1 million raised?
Yep.
That is a massive 11x multiplier. And I really want to unpack why that is so significant for you listening. Because traditional media companies, the ones that rely on hiring more humans to write more articles to get more ad clicks, they do not get 11x valuations on seed funding.
Never. Their profit margins are way too thin.
Exactly. An $11 million valuation on $1 million raised is a SaaS multiple, software as a service.
Spot on.
That implies the investors recognize that Beinsure's AI data infrastructure has a marginal cost of 0 to replicate.
Exactly.
Like, once the AI is built to analyze cyber risk, it costs them exactly the same to deliver that insight to one person as it does to 2 million people.
That is the very definition of extreme capital efficiency. And it perfectly explains the lead investor.
Who was the lead?
This funding was led by Finance Media, with participation from angel investor Oleg Pereshchak. And Finance Media's role here is crucial context.
Why is that?
Well, they aren't just a passive hedge fund writing a check. Finance Media is a European company that operates right at the intersection of media, research, consulting, and digital infrastructure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they combine editorial expertise with heavy data-driven services for the fintech and banking sectors.
So it's like finding an investor who doesn't just give you the money to build a house, but actually owns the lumberyard and the architecture firm.
That's a perfect way to put it. They bring operational infrastructure that fundamentally bolsters Beinsure's own technical capabilities.
That makes total sense.
And, with that infrastructure in place, the industry validation quickly followed. But I should point out, they aren't winning awards for having the prettiest website design.
No, definitely not. The trophy cabinet from 2023 to 2026 tells a story of an industry recognizing a paradigm shift.
Let's hear it.
I don't want to just read a boring list, but the progression here is really fascinating.
Right.
In 2023, they grabbed the Technology Innovator Awards for Best Insurance and Investment Technology Guide.
Solid start.
Then 2024 was basically a sweep across various business excellence awards for digital media. But 2025 and 2026 are where you really see the shift.
Yeah.
In 2025, they won Most Innovative InsurTech Solutions Provider USA. And then in 2026, they took home the Wealth and Finance International Award for Best B2B InsurTech Media Platform.
The distinction there is so vital. They transitioned from winning awards for being a guide or a media platform to winning as an innovative solutions provider.
Which is a huge leap.
Massive. You don't win a solutions provider award for writing a good editorial.
Right.
You win it because your platform actually solved a problem for a business. You win it because your predictive data models caught a market trend that traditional legacy firms completely missed.
Which brings us to the inevitable next question. They have extreme capital efficiency. They are scaling a highly digital product without burning massive amounts of cash. And they've proven the global appetite for reliable InsurTech data is absolutely insatiable right now.
Unquestionably.
But where do you go once you've hit number one? I mean, to justify that $11 million valuation going forward, you can't just rest on your laurels in the US and the UK.
No, you absolutely cannot. The roadmap detailed in the sources is highly ambitious.
What are they looking at?
Beinsure's primary strategic goal is expanding their global reach. But importantly, they are doing this by delivering localized insights specifically tailored to North America, Europe, and Asia.
So not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. They know that a broad, generic, global risk model is totally useless. They want deep, actionable relevance in those specific localized markets. And on top of that, they aim to aggressively strengthen their partnerships with leading industry organizations and analysts.
Which makes sense. If you are the radar system, you want every major airline plugging directly into your data feed.
Exactly. And technologically, the goal is to integrate even more digital tools, real-time analytics, and proprietary indices to create what they call a true one-stop knowledge hub for the entire financial and insurance ecosystem.
A one-stop knowledge hub. Looking at that strategic vision, there is a specific phrase they use that really caught my eye.
What's that?
It says their ultimate mission involves, and I'm quoting here, transforming insurance into assurance.
Ooh, that is a very deliberate and very heavy choice of words.
It is. Because if you think about the actual mechanics of it, the word insurance inherently feels reactive.
Right, it's after the fact.
Yeah, it's what kicks in when things go wrong. A pipe bursts in your kitchen, a ransomware attack locks down your company's servers, a localized market crashes. Insurance is the financial safety net you pray catches you after the damage is already done.
Exactly.
But assurance. Assurance feels entirely proactive. It's about having the predictive data, the insights, and the confidence to know you are protected before the event even happens.
That's a great distinction.
It's moving from hoping you are covered to knowing exactly where your vulnerabilities are and sealing them ahead of time. That feels like a massive psychological shift they are trying to bring to the entire industry.
And we really have to recognize that this psychological shift from reactive to proactive is only possible because of the AI technology we discussed earlier.
True.
You can only offer assurance if your predictive data models are so accurate and process so much historical and real-time data that they remove the guesswork for both the everyday consumer and the institutional investor.
Which brings us full circle. We started this deep dive looking at a founder who just wanted to help friends navigate the agonizing headache of deciphering basic insurance policies.
Yeah.
And that deeply personal human desire spawned an AI-driven, highly capital-efficient $11 million analytics platform, a platform that is now literally guiding the geopolitical investment strategies of major global reinsurers, while still managing to provide an interface that helps everyday people make sense of crypto risk and personal finance.
It really is an incredible evolution. From a traditional media site summarizing yesterday's news to a true B2B powerhouse predicting tomorrow's market.
It's been an amazing journey to unpack.
It certainly has. And as we wrap up our analysis of Beinsure today, there is one final, almost philosophical question I want to leave you with, looking at where this all goes next.
Let's hear it.
We've talked extensively about how Beinsure is building proprietary indices for the next generation of investing in insurance coverage, and how heavily they are utilizing AI to predict market trends, spot coverage gaps, and build risk models. So consider this. If an analytics media platform becomes too good at predicting risks, forecasting trends, and issuing market ratings, at what point does the media platform itself become more influential in actually shaping the market than the insurance companies it is supposedly just covering?
Oh, wow.
Right. If their AI predicts a sector is too risky and investors pull out based on that media report, the platform just created the reality it was trying to predict.
The observer suddenly becoming the one dictating the reality.
Exactly.
The radar system actually changing the weather. That is a heavy, amazing question to ponder as we watch this space evolve. Well, thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into beinsure.com, and we will leave you with that lingering thought to mull over. Catch you next time.